Hello, my name is Bradley Jordan, and I will be doing a case study of Grasslick Creek. To begin, we will be looking at the settings and information about the creek. It's located primarily in Jackson County, West Virginia, and I just put this here to show you how big it could be. It is a trib of a trib of a trib, which is about third order at the end of it. It's approximately 13 miles long and has a watershed of around 43 square miles. It's over 70% forested, which is pretty decent, and only 8% residential and commercial. This is a picture of the headwater of Grasslick Creek, or as close as I could get to the headwaters without going on private land. I tried to go on private land, but the landowner was pretty adamant about my denial. And this is the end of Grasslick, with Grasslick being here on the right. It is about third order at this point, and Bear Fork being on the left. They combine to form Tug Fork, which feeds into Mill Creek, which feeds directly into the Ohio River. Like most streams in the U.S. and West Virginia, Grasslick is designated for contract recreation and propagation and maintenance of fish and aquatic life, so swimmable and fishable. Like most creeks and streams in West Virginia, it is also part of the public drinking water supply, Category A. However, right now, it is currently failing both Category C and Category B due to impairment. These impairments are fecal coliform for the entire length. This is mostly agricultural with some failing or non-existent sewage systems. Iron for the entire length, likely from leaching of bare rock and soil, as there is very little to no mining in Jackson County. And condition not allowable biological for the entire length. This is a result of nutrient enrichment from the fecal and sedimentation from the iron. This looks complicated and scary, but I promise it's not that bad. I'll break it down for you here. First of all, iron was measured in pounds per day, while fecal was measured in counts of fecal coliform per day. Both LA and WALA have baseline and normal. Baseline was before the TMDL, and normal was after the TMDL was established. Load allocation stands for, LA stands for load allocation. Think of load allocation as any non-point source pollution sources, so like leaching from a road. Waste load allocation, WLA, is for all your permitted point sources, so factories that directly discharge into a stream. MOS stands for margin of safety, and in this case, it was 5% of the TMDL as a buffer for safety. As you can see here, before the TMDL was established, daily iron levels were 927.6 pounds per day. Baseline WLA, which is the same as WLA for all of these, was 13.9. Using this data, a TMDL was calculated to be 76.42 pounds per day. That is as much as a stream can handle without being impaired. This means that iron levels need to be reduced by 92%. As WLA was already low at 13.9, GVDP decided to try and lower load allocation by reducing non-point source pollution sources of iron to 58.71 pounds a day. The same is true for fecal, with several orders of magnitude of LA over WLA. A TMDL was calculated to be almost half of the baseline LA. It only needs to be reduced by around 65% instead of 92%. This means that the WLA, which was the only thing limited again, the LA was limited, WLA was not touched because it was already low, was set to 1.05 times 10 to the 11th counts of fecal coliform a day. Keep in mind for the next slide that the WSGI score was an average of 63.9. So in order to find iron and fecal levels, grab water samples were taken at 7 points along Grasslick. For fecal grab samples, A pre-sterilized bottle was used as it is very easy to manipulate and corrupt fecal data. Each bottle contains a tablet of sodium thiosulfate, which was used to kill anything living in the bottle that could eat or produce more fecal coliform. In addition to this, it was immediately packed on ice, and even on ice it could only be held for at most 12 hours before going bad. Iron was a lot easier. The bottles for iron were not pre-sterilized, so you have to rinse them out 3 times with the stream water before filling them. But then after iron was collected, if you were looking at dissolved iron, you would need to filter it. If you were looking at total iron, you would not need to filter it. It was then treated with nitric acid to bring the pH below 2, and then it did not need ice. Biological impairment was determined by whiskey and water chemistry. Remember, 63.9 was the average whiskey score for Grasslick Creek. Anything below 68 is considered impaired. And even if it's above 68, if it's below 78, it's in a gray area, and you need to do another bio again. Bios, in addition to whiskeys, turbidity, temperature, pH, and other water chemistry aspects were looked at because nothing wants to live in something that's poor pH. In order to reduce iron in the stream, WVDP came up with 2 main criteria. Firstly, they wanted to limit new construction to only 1% of the watershed land area. So once a construction project was finished, it needed to cover all the bare ground before a new one could begin. In addition to this, they tried to limit stream bank erosion, as the more of the stream bank that went into the stream, the more iron that could be leached from the sediment introduced. In order to reduce fecal, these they're trying to reduce non-point sources, as I said before. They are specifically trying to remove dwelling or non-existent sewage systems, as this would introduce human waste into the stream. In addition to this, they are trying to educate the local populace, especially farmers who have animals, about ways that they can reduce coliform in the stream themselves, such as keeping animals away from the stream. And for the biological impairment, it was determined to be caused by the fecal and iron in forms of nutrient enrichment and sedimentation. By controlling these 2 impairments, you fix a biological impairment. I separated watershed health into biotic and abiotic. From everything I've seen, there seems to be ample substrate for bug habitat. All the substrate was fairly rocky with over palm-sized rocks and layered. And as you can see in this picture I took of Grasslick Creek, this is a bug haven. With all the leaves and rocks and water flowing, bugs would love this area. In addition to this, the stream only seemed to be 50% shaded, with a lot of residential areas bordering the stream. While 50% isn't great, it's not the worst either for bug populations. Shade helps control temperature and introduce food in the form of leaf litter to the stream. A big downside is that this entire stream is fairly low gradient, which means slow flow. Bugs like fast flow, as it introduces a lot of dissolved oxygen and carries them a lot of food. Abiotic-wise, as I said, over 70% is forested, while only 8% is commercial and residential. I believe West Virginia is one of the very few states that you can say this, and it's very good that only 70% is forested. In addition to this, fecal and iron impairments are severe, with iron being so much worse than fecal, as you need a 90% reduction in iron levels, while only 65 to meet the TMDL limit for fecal and iron. In addition to this, Grasslick is full of trash. Every site I visited had several pieces of trash both in the stream and on the banks. And as you can see by the red circles I included, these are eroded banks. The banks of Grasslick are extremely eroded at any point in the water streams, in the water's area. As you can see, this is just bare soil banks that could be washed away into the stream. Separated permit into area. There's 2 unincorporated communities, Kenna and Fairplain, and then a third section in between the 2 areas. It has 3 stormwater construction permits, so 3 construction projects going on, 1 car wash, and 2 stormwater industrial general permits. Airplane, on the other hand, has a straight-up industrial general permit, Dickerson Corporation, 3 stormwater industrial, a car wash, 2 construction, and 1 general sewage permit. In between the 2 unincorporated communities, there is a general sewage permit, over 50 plug gas wells, and over 60 active gas wells. I separated it out into 4 main areas, and I'm going to talk about the NPDES criteria for each of these 4 areas. First off, for construction, you have to worry about the bare rock being exposed by vehicles to make a building, giving iron and sediments into the stream. In addition to this, you have to wash and maintain your vehicles, which could lead to fuel being introduced into the stream. Other than this, temporary storage drums could leak. The monitoring regimens I found were erosion controls being expected every week or within 24 hours of a storm event. General stormwater industrial means anything that could leach off of a stormwater's plant from rainfall. In particular, the Dickerson Corporation I mentioned earlier used alkaline detergent cleaner to clean their products, and this could easily leak into the stream. Other things include other toxic chemicals, fuel from the vehicles on the property, and metals from the structures on the property. Finally, fuel or storage tanks could leak. Monitoring regimens for these include secondary containment for fuel, and they inspect equipment weekly for most things, such as oil water separator or Dickerson Corporation. Third, are 2 car washes in the watershed. They can introduce chloride, oil, phosphorus, soap, gas, sediment, and so many other things. Basically, anything used as a washing medium can be introduced into the stream, as well as anything washed off the cars. In order to combat this, there are multimedia filters, settling tanks that are checked monthly, and grit traps that are checked daily to prevent water from the car wash from entering the stream. Finally, with sewage plants, of course, you have to worry about fecal coliform, but you also have to worry about total suspended solids, biologically organic demanding materials, and residual chlorine. The sources of these can come from raw and treated sewage, and of course, gray water. And most areas I read about perform monthly fecal coliform grad checks, and of course they inspected their equipment. Here are my works cited. Jordan, and this has been a case study on Grasslick Creek. Thank you.